Bonjour, Audrey Thayer.
Bonjour.
We're at Lake Bemidji, and earlier today there was the great Anishinaabe fish-off right across the lake here by that water tower. And I guess it was well attended, and there was plenty of media. Some nets were put in the water. What happened?
Well, what happened? It was a wonderful day for the Anishinaabe fishing. Weather changed. We had 3 or 4 days of rain, and it cleared about 10 o'clock. We were ready on the first nets were set in at 11. We weren't to get going till 1, but we wanted to get some of the nets out early, and so the organizers put their nets out, and we had 2 out right away, and then at 1 o'clock we put out a 3rd net. It was a very symbolic and emotional for me to watch the people loading their boats, the women. We had men and women out there. We had for the boats it'd be 1 woman, 1 man. It was very nice.
Any fish?
There was 1, by the way, and she actually fell out of her arms on the second go around on one of the nets. So that happened a little while ago. She was telling me it fell out of her net.
We understand the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources was in attendance. What did they do?
Well, we were patient because the people started gathering. It was a very good crowd. By 11, we had at least 100, but by 1 o'clock, when it was to start, we were close to triple in that amount of people. And the boats came across. It was kind of like a movie. You see these boats coming. Maybe like the one of these high-tech movies where you see these great big boats coming at you. 4 of them coming across the water in full speed and slowing down by the nets that were out there, and then magically appearing amongst the crowd were some of the DNR that were not on boats. So and a few others who had guns on their hips but were dressed like everybody else. They were out there too. So.
And what did they do with the nets?
Well, there was a few, for our organization, for the American Civil Liberties Union, the DNR wanted to talk to me right away, and we discussed what was happening here. And both of us knew. We were very, very good about it. And as we were discussing calmly, his officers, I was talking to the head of, the head local regional heads, one of the boats had pulled over one of our boats and promptly secured the net, because that's the law. They can actually seize the property. But in front of the crowd, which I was just surprised that they would have even done that, they cut the nets up. So it kind of infuriated the audience, and I certainly would have been, if I had a clear shot. It was right to my left as I was talking to the 2 officers, trying to define our ground and what was going on for this great Anishinaabe fish-off. But they cut those nets up and then took them. And the young man's nets, and with his wife and babies on the shore watching, you could see the look in their eyes. It was a huge issue. I mean, can you imagine a family that lives in an isolated part of the Leech Lake Reservation come and bring their boat, and their children are running around, and his wife, and they make a decision to go out there with their nets because they believe in the 1855 treaty. They believe that they have a right to net, that it's not illegal, that it's their right. Go out there with their limited resources and get those nets cut up. And I suspect, I do know the family, that was probably a year's income for both of them. I'm serious, and both those nets, they were nice nets. And that little beat-up boat and fancy little nets, and they're gone. They're gone.
Any citations issued?
Not yet. They have 60 days about 60 days. The files are developed by DNR. They kind of put files together. They only had 1 name, and that was of the guy that lost his nets. They gave him a little piece of paper. Actually, I'm in possession of that paper, which was a seizure paper, stating that they had seized the nets they had cut up. And he may get a citation in the mail, and he may not.
We've heard reports from White Earth members that when they go ricing in August and September, DNR will arrest people for ricing off the res without a state permit, confiscate the canoe, the rice, and it takes upwards of a month and a half to get that property returned. Is that accurate?
Yes, let's talk about the duck boats and the guns. You know, let's talk about, you know, the traps that are done. It's been going on, complaints by the individuals on that reservation, and that's a little disheartening to me to think that we have, it's almost like a form of harassment, and it's a fear tactic, it's a power and control issue, and I'm not sure it's entirely appropriate or legal.
These treaties, 37, 42, 54, 55, are dealing with the inherent right of indigenous people to hunt, fish, and gather. Is that what today is about, to make that demonstration?
Absolutely. It was, and it was the 1855 that they're operating off of today, that the people want to have that freedom to come to Bemidji here and come and fish at any time and not be threatened because they don't have a state license, which is unnecessary anyway. So that's what it was about today. My responsibility today was to make sure that people had the right to protest, the right to be heard, to exercise that freedom.
One more question, Audrey.
Okay.
The gathering with the Leech Lake Tribal Council, we heard there was a pretty good eats today.
Oh, it was wonderful. Actually, it was joint. It was the Leech Lake Tribal Council and the White Earth Tribal Council put on a feed up in Diamond Point Park, which was just about a half a mile from the site of where the boats were going off. And so everybody, they had speeches up here, they had speeches down there at the boat landing, and the speeches were wonderful. I felt like I was back in the 1800s listening to just unbelievable commitment and beauty and sincerity and love of this land and love of the people and wanting to have the rights, everybody. And I was thankful for the councils because they put that big feed on, and we were able to eat after it was all over, and people got to visit, and those who stayed up here cooking and were up at the park with their kids were asking about what all happened down there because they could hear, you know, the crowds hollering, and it was a good day. It was a good day.
Miigwech. This is Audrey Thayer and Nick Vanderpye for IndianCountryTV.com.